Hey, Chris, thanks so much for coming to the Travis Goodwin Show, man. I've been following you for a while. I'm actually a student of yours, so it's a pleasure to be on here and to talk. I know who you are, but for those who may not know, let's just get started by explaining who you are and what you do.
Well, I appreciate you having me come on. And so I'm referred to by many as being the godfather of virtual wholesaling. So I pioneered that term back in 2007, was doing that, started around 2005 or six, a long time ago. If I can date myself, it was before Google Street View. If you could imagine a world without Google Street View. And so I started doing, I was doing virtual wholesaling way back then. Started teaching people the concept around 2007 and 8 and have been doing that ever since. And there's always been iterations. We started out with direct mail and sending out, at some point, millions of postcards per month. And then until it didn't stop and until it stopped working. And then eventually now have ventured into my new model, which is online lead generation and but with a virtual wholesaling, but with a twist because now we're doing it nationwide. So instead of being in one particular market, now we do deals all across the country in big towns, small towns, and every nook and cranny of the whole USA.
Wow, that's amazing. I know a lot of people who's probably listening is thinking, wow, nationally, that sounds hard.
And you know what? It at first it does, because there's a couple layers to it, right? I think that in order to implement the model that we do, and then we can go into it in deeper detail, you need two things, right? There's always the tactical knowledge and the implementation of it, but also there's also the mindset shift around it, because you also have to consider the fact that you're doing everything virtually in markets that we do deals all the time in markets where we do a deal and we didn't even know that the town existed until the lead came in. And all of a sudden now we can go into that market and within 10 minutes be able to know and analyze that market and understand the dynamics of it and then be able to then successfully put a property in the contract and do the entire transaction virtually. And so it requires, and we can go as deep as you want here, and more than happy to, and kind of walk through the whole model as well.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I'm really curious too. I know that I think you're in Florida, right? So what made you go national when you have so much going on there? Is it like an ad spend type thing? Are you just seeing a lot more luck or like success, I will say, going national?
No, it came out of necessity because we were around 2016. We shifted from doing postcards to doing Facebook marketing. So I was one of the first guys out there that was teaching real estate investors how to do Facebook. And then Facebook, a couple years later, made a change in their platform, which eliminated zip code targeting. And it was almost by accident that I ventured on the fact that, oh, wow, we can get leads in other places in the US a lot, a lot, very inexpensively. So
Yeah.
what ended up happening is that I made an error in one of my campaigns, and instead of putting a particular market, I put United States of America, just the entire country. And I see all these leads coming in, and they were cheap. And they were motivated, and I thought to myself, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe we can do deals with all these properties that are coming in all across the country, and that's how it came about.
Oh, that's awesome. So when we talk, I know right now online lead generation is probably the most popular it's been, you got PPL providers, PPC, you can pay, and some of these are very costly. Like you're looking at $500 per lead, What are you seeing on a national level?
When we advertise, if we do nationwide campaigns, we can get a lead for $15. So that's 1 5. And that is a property owner that's filled out a form that has filled out a form with a lot of information. They tell us their motivation, how long they've been at the property, the repairs that are needed, their asking price, who's living at the property, and all these other details. So they're a highly qualified lead. So the same lead that you would go out and somewhat pay. I was going to say there's not an apples to apples comparison because if you go to a nationwide lead provider and you buy from them an exclusive nationwide lead, you're typically are going to pay about $75. However, that nationwide lead is not a top tier lead because what happens is with most PPL companies, if they're advertising nationwide, there's guys and gals that, for example, could be in Florida that they want all the leads in Florida that they can handle, and they're willing to pay a lot of money for them, two,
Yeah.
three, $400 per lead. So the PPL company will sell those leads first because they want to sell and maximize their money and they want to sell to the highest bidder. And then whatever's left over, whatever the crumbs are left over, those are the ones that sell you as a nationwide lead for 75 bucks. However, so when we do nationwide lead generation, we're getting a lead for $15, so we're getting a lead significantly at a lesser cost. But at the same time, it is a higher quality lead because now you have your own campaign, which means that you'll be able to get leads in Florida, in Texas, in all those markets that you might have to have paid $200 for that lead. But now you're getting that same lead for $15.
Makes total sense. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. So what are you doing in your business right now, or what are you teaching? Are you still on the Facebook, and is that what
Yeah.
you're going hard on?
So first priority, like number one, is that I'm a firm believer in that big picture that marketing is the most important part of your business, right? You could be the most horrible real estate investor on earth. You could barely know how to put a deal together. But if you've got a lot of leads coming through the pipeline, you'll stumble upon a deal.
Yeah,
But you could be the opposite. You could be like the most amazing real estate investor. You have 15 ways to slice the deal, but if you got no leads, you ain't going to make any money. So I
right.
believe that lead generation is the most important part of our business, and I believe that that should be something that you as an investor should control. Not, yeah, you could have an agency, you could buy paper lead, but maybe that might be an interim step. But I firmly believe that you should have control over that. You should know how it's done. It's not that difficult because again, that's the most important part of the business. So that's priority number one. And then for us, I mean, the way we do it is number one, it's nationwide, right? So a lot of what happens is that if I forgot where is it that you're located, Travis,
West
geographically?
Virginia.
West Virginia. So if you're in West Virginia, then in order for me to get leads in West Virginia, and if I focused my Facebook, and we do Facebook, we do TikTok ads, and we do Google. And Google
Okay.
is a bunch of different campaigns because there's search, there's demand gen, there's performance max. We do all of them, and we can teach people how to do all of them, and we set them up and everything else. So we're not an agency. What we do is that we help people get up and running with their lead generation. But if I was to want to get leads in your local area, and if I focus my campaigns there, I'm going to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
Versus if I say, you know what, I'm willing to do nationwide, or I'm willing to, run ads in 12 to 15 states,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden now that cost per lead is going to go down significantly because now I'm giving the platform more room to be able to do this, right? And so, that's first of all, that's how we do it. And then for most people, you know, um, the platform that we always lead with first is Facebook because it's the most forgiving platform. It's the easiest for somebody to get started with. It'll provide great leads. I mean, we have deals. We have we have deals all the time. We're closing deals consistently because we're closing deals ourselves, and we also close deals for our students. So we have people that we set ads up for, and then they need help in dispo, so they give us the deal, we sell it, and we find the buyer. So that's kind of our model is more of a hybrid education slash deal partnering, where we set people up with their campaigns, help them up and running, and then we sell their deals. And then eventually they'll go off on their own. But while they're doing that, then we can help them in selling their deals. But the platform that we recommend is always Facebook, just because of the fact that it's easy to get started, low cost per lead, very consistent, and the budget requirements on that. I would say, you can start with as little as you want or as much as you want. A good sweet spot for someone would be $20 a day nationwide, and then they can always expand. And then part of that is, I mean, you could spend $3,000 or $4,000 a month on Facebook. You wouldn't be able to handle the lead flow. You need more humans for that. But
Yeah.
you can start off with Facebook. TikTok operates very much like Facebook. The problem is sometimes with TikTok, it takes a couple campaigns to get it going, which means that you'll have some waste in the beginning. So for TikTok, we recommend a budget of say minimum of $1,000 to $1,500 a month. And then Google is the most complicated, requires the most budget. So we typically recommend people, if they're going to start off at Google, they'd be like about, they would start off about 2,000 minimum, but better 2,500 to 3 grand a month. But Facebook is a sweet spot. $600 a month will start getting you leads right away. And then what happens is that then the leads will come in. We're advertising nationwide. The leads will come in. They'll see an image or an ad on Facebook. They'll click on the form. They'll fill out a form. We use lead form, so it's Facebook's own internal lead connection system.
Yeah.
And then they fill out the form, and then that lead gets sent to the client. For example, it either gets sent to email, their CRM, etc. And then the big picture here in my opinion, is that we're also shifting the model in a couple of different ways. Number one, we're shifting the model from the perspective of we're doing deals nationwide, but we're also shifting the model from how we operate inside the business. So I call it, number one is that we're no longer the annoying pest, we're the welcome guest
Yeah.
because these leads are incoming. So instead of cold calling where they're asking you, how'd you get my number? Oh, you make me an offer, and they're very combative. These people are expecting you to call them. So that's number one. So it's a much different conversation. In addition to that, then the other concept is transitioning from the convincing business into the sifting and sorting business.
Mm.
Because then, if you only have a handful of leads every single week, then you're going to try to do everything you can to do a deal with those, even if they're overpriced, even if they're a pain in the ass. And a lot of these sellers are a pain in the butt. But however, if you've got a tremendously large number of leads coming in, and if you talk to two people today and they're not going to be deals, but tomorrow you're going to get another two and another two after that, then it also creates a different dynamic in the business because you're no longer in the convincing business. You're more in the sifting and sorting business. You're in the business of figuring out who's a prospect and then going ahead and doing deals with them and forgetting about everybody else. So those are the other couple shifts that we have in the business. And then, so the leads will come in and then, we talk to them. We get the basic information, as price, motivation, property condition, etc. And then, primarily, we use Zillow as a tool that we use in order to analyze the deal. So we look at, how, is there activity in that market? So it's an active. What's the ratio between actives and pending, so we can see if that market is viable or not, etc. And then we make an offer right there on the phone with the property owner. We never take a look at the property at all. Everything is done virtually. And then once we place that property in the contract, then we tell the seller that, hey, the reason we're able to buy properties all across the country is because we work with investor partners all across the country. So once we have the agreement signed, we'll send out our investor partner, which is our buyer, and then they'll confirm the condition of the property. We know it needs work and fixing up. It's not a big deal, but we want to make sure that, hey, a meteorite didn't come from the sky last night, punch a hole in the roof, and then now like we're wondering like, hey, this is the house that we said
Yeah.
over the phone, right? And so, we place that property in the contract. And then at that point, then we go out and find a buyer. Now, we do get photos of the property, but we get photos after the fact. So either the owner would give us photos. Most people have a smartphone. If not, there's a couple services that we use. One of them is like, for example, bpophotoflow.com, where you can go there, order photos for 50, $75, get photos of the property. And then we use platforms like Investor Lift, Investor Base in order to find the buyers. And, we are generally dealing with experienced real estate investors. We want people that already are used to dealing with wholesalers. We know that they're not going to go try to go behind our back, and they know the game. And so then we show the property. We, coordinate the showings, get them to see the property, negotiate, and then we find a title company in the local area. We don't use a nationwide title company. What we generally do is, if we're dealing with an investor that knows what they're doing, that they're used to dealing with wholesalers, we ask them, who do you use at the title company? And then they'll tell us. We'll call the title company, confirm that they know what they're doing, that it's not going to be a problem dealing with them. And then we do the transaction with that local title company, and the whole thing gets done pretty much virtually. And the objective is, I look at it as, I look every the whole model itself. Like, I'm giving you the overview, happy to go into any details about it. But the main objective is, I call it, whenever we have somebody coming in brand new in the business, we tell them we call it the 1-3-3 plan. Number one is get your first deal done under this model. Number two is get your third deal done, because by the time you do three deals, then you've gone through enough seller calls, and all the trials and tribulations, as you know, with this business, that now by the third deal, like, you kind of understand the business. And then eventually you get to three deals a month. And so what we're trying to do is put together a business, what I call the ultimate lifestyle business, where, we're not asking you to build a team. We're not asking you to go out and hire a bunch of humans and do cold calling and all that other stuff. It's just warm inbound leads, high profit, low stress business that then you can run from anywhere. And then once you get to three deals a month, if you want, you can scale it to the moon. It's really up to you. Now, I have to warn you, I've had 10 cups of coffee, so you got to stop me. Otherwise, I just go on and on and on.
No, no, this is perfect, man. You can keep drinking your coffee. Um, so yeah, man, like I took your course a few years back, and I spent about $800,
Hmm.
and I ended up getting a deal from it. It was a $10,000 deal, and I kind of went away. So what happened with me, this was the first virtual deal I ever did. Like
Mm,
completely virtual in a small little town in Ohio. But instead of, I don't know why, but instead of continuing, I kind of just stayed focused on that area and
mm.
did a bunch of direct mail, and I did a bunch of virtual deals in that area. So your your program is what had me in that area to begin with. And I ended up
Interesting.
doing 30 deals in that place virtually. Never looked through it at all. But I always had that problem with the whole national thing, getting leads from everywhere. Do you find that a lot with your clients and your students?
Well, part of it is number one is part of it is fear, right?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that there's so many different areas and you've never been to those areas before or know anything about them, so you're going into unfamiliar territory. But like for us, we train our clients on how to properly analyze the deals, and I could go into any town anywhere in the USA, and within 7 to 10 minutes, I know pretty well all the dynamics of that market. I know which neighborhoods are good, which neighborhoods are bad. I know if the market is moving slow or fast and everything
Yeah.
else. And it's done through a combination of training and repetition, right? There's no way to avoid the repetition aspect of it. But once you go through, I would say in general, we tell our clients that, the first month you'll go through about 30 to 40 leads. You'll
Yeah.
talk to 30 or 40 sellers, you'll analyze 30 or 40 deals. By the time you get to the end of the month, you'll be much further ahead than when you first started, and you learn the model that way. I would say that one of the things that we do is we use the nationwide model to unearth markets that perhaps we were not aware of
Yeah.
and that are potential. So, like for example, we had a lead that came in Enid, Oklahoma. I had never heard of Enid, Oklahoma. I always kid around and said, when I give my family the list of all the favorite vacation spots, I give them Europe and I give them London and I give them all these fancy places, and I sneak in there Enid, Oklahoma. They never pick it, okay? But so we got this deal at Enid, Oklahoma, and we did a deal. We made some good money, and we said, "Oh, we would love to get more deals there." And what we ended up doing is we ended up doing another campaign through, we can do that. We could do direct mail. We can do other things in that. And so we just did another deal in Enid, Oklahoma through another source. So, you could use this virtual nationwide model that you're operating and still doing deals nationwide. But as these small pockets of areas in the US reveal themselves to you, then all of a sudden you can say, you know what? I'm going to take my direct mail strategy. I'm going to take my, whatever I'm doing now, and I'm going to apply it into that area. And then you'll find that there's not that much competition because everybody's in the big towns. So
Yeah.
it's like a little bit, what you did was perfect. It would have been great if you would have done that, but then at the same time, you continued
Yeah.
to do deals in other areas, because then you might have discovered other areas as well, and then just applied. Like if you did direct mail in that particular town in Ohio, you could have then just used the same strategy and said, okay, I find another place. I'm going to go get me some low hanging fruit there. And so that's another strategy that works around what we do.
That's a good strategy, good insight. I think that
Yeah.
that's awesome. Let's say I'm just getting started. I've never ran a Facebook ad before. I buy your course and I learn everything about it. How long is it going to take me to get everything set up and start generating leads?
Well, it depends on the person. And so we actually have two different tracks that we work with
Okay.
people. One track is where we actually provide all the checklists and the step-by-step tutorials and everything. And someone literally the other day, someone came in, and we offer a support structure around that. So that way, as people have questions, we can get them answered, and we have Zoom calls and everything else. But they went from 0 to 2 days later having all the campaigns up and running, and now they've got leads.
Yeah.
And that's one option. Another option, so people come and say, you know what? I either don't want to do it, they don't want to sit down and go through the effort, or they just, they feel a little bit like, overwhelmed by the tech stuff. And so we actually go in and set them up. So we set them up, and then we deliver it, and then we show you how to operate it. So I always use the analogy of driving a car. The dealer, when you want to buy a car, the dealer never asks you to build the car. They build it for you, they deliver it to you, and they give you an owner's manual. So we also do that as well. Where we give an owner's manual, we show you how to operate it. And so we have a couple different tracks depending on the person, but it's really not that complex. A lot of people have an aversion to it. And generally people have resistance to anything new. But as with anything new, you become familiar with it, and it's not as difficult as people may I think it's actually infinitely easier to run ads and talk to sellers and talk to buyers.
Yeah. What I'm sure you hear this a lot. So what is your advice for the person who starts ads? They might get 10 to 15 leads and they say this isn't working. These leads are bad. This isn't good.
Yeah, it's a great question because a lot of people in our niche, when they're starting out, they have unrealistic expectations, right? And
Hmm.
I always give the analogy of, if I were to go to if I were to go to the grocery store to buy a lotto ticket, is it possible that I would win the lotto? I mean, it's possible, but the probability is very, very, very low. And so you have to look at it like when you come into this, you have to look at it number one is long term, that you're not coming in for 30 days. Now, first of all, big picture, whatever it is that you pick, you got to pick something that you believe in and there's evidence to support that it works and that it produces revenue, right? You establish that. Let's say that you decide, you know what, I like this model. I want to do online lead generation. The next thing is you have to be able to give it enough time. Because if I tell you that, hey, every 30 leads, you're going to get a deal, right? Hypothetically, or every 35 leads.
Yeah.
That's over a large sample size. So that means you could get lucky. And tomorrow, the fifth lead ends up being a banger. And then now you make $30,000 and and you're like on cloud nine. But who knows? Maybe the 45th lead is the one that ends up being the deal. And so a lot of you have to look at it as it's a numbers game,
Yeah.
and then also giving yourself enough time to make it work. Because the other variables are, you could have somebody that is right off the bat, like they do a deal first month, and then another person takes them 3 months. What makes the difference? Number one, whether or not that person is able to speak well with property owners over the phone. If they suck on the phone, if they don't, they can't. I would say if they talk like they got a sock in their mouth, we got a problem. They ain't gonna make any deals, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you sound like you just ingested half a bottle of NyQuil, you don't have to drink 10 cups of coffee like me. But it would help if you got some energy in you. So
Yep.
part of it is how you sound over the phone and how you have those conversations. Your skill sets and everything else. Those are impactful. The other thing that's impactful is your budget because if you can only generate, if you're only operating at $10 a day, and I come in and I say, hey, I'm going to spend $50 a day because I want to be aggressive and I want to get deals. Well, I'm going to get deals faster than you are. So there's a lot of factors that are involved for this. I think that for the most part, most people are underestimating the task at hand, and they're not really prepared for the long term effort required in order to make this business work. Because the issue with wholesaling is that it's a simple business, right? But the same thing as a car, like you get in a car in the morning, you put the key in the ignition and you drive, and it's just a simple thing. But then you lift the hood up and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe there's so many things going on just for me to get to the gym or to the coffee shop. It's the same thing with wholesaling. It's a simple business, but there's a lot of things underneath the hood that can trip you up, and you got to be prepared for that. And for some of you starting out, you need to be able to increase your time and effort in the business in order to make it successful.
Love it, man. You're the best, Chris. I'm telling you, man. As far as online lead generation, you're the go-to person. You know what I mean? In my opinion. Um, where do you see this business going? Not wholesaling, but the online lead generation. Where do you see it going in the future with all these different changes with AI and everything that Google's doing? What can you predict?
Well, there's always change. I always say that every platform goes through changes. Like Google right now is going through changes because I have a bunch of different campaign types. And so with every change, it disrupts things, but it also creates opportunities for other people.
Yeah.
And so I think that to me, I'm excited because anytime there's change and people have their hands up in the air and saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't get the same results," that means that they're giving up and now we can figure it out and we'll make it work. So there's always opportunity. With AI, I use AI all the time in terms of, helping me, create ad copy
Yeah.
and a variety of different things. So it helps me with a lot of things mechanically. The one thing that it can never replace is obviously human interaction, which is this business is the belly business. And then the other thing is insight. So a lot of times people, there's one thing to put the campaign together, but then having the ability to make adjustments and to discern what's working, what's not working. We have a lot of clients in our program where, sometimes it's just telling them, look, you haven't got, it's your first week, you're making progress. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Don't panic. Just keep on. The leads are coming. You're going to hit one. The next thing you know, 30 days later, they're sitting with a check with 20 or 30 grand. and it's just telling them that they got to stay the course. And so big picture is, I think that there's a lot of disruption in our wholesaling industry because cold calling. A lot of people complain that cold calling isn't as effective. There's still people out there having results, but if you think about it, nobody answers the phone nowadays. And even if you get a list of 10,000 records, you're only going to get a certain percentage penetration into that list. SMS is difficult, and direct mail is expensive. A lot of people are looking at online lead generation,
Yeah.
but there's agencies. If you do an agency, you're gonna pay somewhere between $500 to $7,500 just for agency and setup fees, and pay per lead is expensive too as well. So I think that my position is I'm in a very unique position because I am. There's nobody else in that industry that knows that's a real estate investor that runs ads for himself, that does deals, and knows all three platforms. So
Yeah.
I know Facebook, I know TikTok, I know Google. If you wanted to learn how to do on any of those platforms and have capabilities inside of them, there's nobody else you can go to. Yeah, you can go hire an agency if you want to pay them monthly, but to be able to know and understand and do that, really, I'm the only one. And I always hesitate at saying that because I don't want to seem egotistical or tooting my own horn, but there isn't really anybody that's able to teach all three platforms like we do.
Yeah, you're the go-to guy, and if anybody's watching and you've been spending a bunch of money on PPL and not happy, or PPC, I would definitely recommend going through Chris's program, even if you just learn it and you just get one deal from it and make your money back plus more, because that's what I did. It was
Yeah.
totally worth me buying your course just because I made my money back, I made a profit, and I gained knowledge, and
You
I
have
gained
now
I
you
gained
now
an
have that
understanding.
capability 100%.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing PPL, let's say right now you're doing PPL and you're closing deals and you're having amazing success with it. And PPL, we mean paper lead, where you buy leads from companies. I wouldn't tell you to stop, but I would certainly say, hey, why don't you entertain the idea of you being able to run your own ads? Because now, if you have control, then guess what? You might be able to cut your lead cost to a third of what you were paying. If you have an agency, you can say, hey, maybe I can bring it in house. Maybe I could have more control. So I mean, I never would tell anybody to stop whatever they're doing,
Yeah.
but I would always say that you got to be open to new things. And online marketing is always going to be around. It's not going to go away. And the benefit that you have is that once you learn one platform, every other platform becomes easier. So if a year from now another platform comes on and they offer the opportunity to advertise, then you can do that easily. Like for example, one of the things we're looking at is TV advertising, because now with TV you can go on these self-serve platforms and be able to advertise on Roku and a lot of these other
Yeah.
platforms. But having the foundational knowledge of online marketing helps in being able to operate within those platforms.
Love it, man. It looks like we're running out of time here. For anybody
I'm
that would
talking as
be,
fast as I can.
I know it's all that coffee. I need some coffee, man. I'm good energy, but right now in West Virginia, it's like 30 degrees. It's been raining for 2 days. It's
Gosh.
dark. I'm just like, gosh, man, I need some Florida weather.
But we're really struggling. It's 75, sunny, sweaty. So I don't know. I mean, we got it tough over here too. Can't wait for the summer.
Yeah. How how can people reach out to you, Chris? Let's say they want to learn more about Facebook ads.
The best way for people to do that would be actually to go to my YouTube channel. If they search my name, Cris Chico, they're going to go to my YouTube channel. They're going to see a bunch of videos, content on this particular strategy. I would say watch some of the videos that I have, and then that way you can learn more about it. And then you can follow the links in the descriptions, and you'll be able to reach out to us. But I prefer, hey, somebody go through some of my content and some of that videos where I go and I do a deep dive on many things that we discuss here, and that way they can fully understand the model and then make a decision if they do want to reach out to get more information.
Awesome. I'm going to put Chris's YouTube in the description of this video so you guys can click it and go to it easy. So one last thing, man. If you could leave these good people with one final gem, it can be business, life, just something that could help them get pushed forward for today. What would it be?
Um, I would say the person you are today is incapable of the success that you want tomorrow. So that means that you have to change, right? There's a model of achievement called there's two models of achievement. The model that a lot of people go after is the do do have B model, meaning that if I do all these things, I'll have all these things, and finally I'll become the person that I've always wanted to be. Meaning that if I make all, if I do all these things in real estate and I end up having all this money, then I'll finally be successful and I'll finally be that person. But it's quite the opposite. It's the right model is the be do have model, which is that you become that person today. And that means that you'll be able to do anything you want to do and you'll have everything you want. And becoming that person today is what are the habits, are the daily disciplines and the effort and all those things from a personal development standpoint. And for most people, they're doing the best they can, but they're not doing what's required for success. And that's always there's a big difference because we're always okay with people patting us on the back and saying, "Oh yes, you're doing your best," but sometimes your best ain't cutting it. And the amount of effort required to make any business successful is head and shoulders far more than what most people are doing. So, in my opinion, is everybody needs someone to check them and to say, you know what, you ain't doing enough. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's why you're not making the money you should be making. So you got to step it up. So anyway, that's my advice to everyone here: is you got to figure out. You got to become that step into that person today and look really hard in the mirror and just say, who do I need to become today? So that then that way I can have all the success that I want in my life and I'll have all those things that I've ever wanted.
That's great advice, man. I appreciate you so much for coming on here, spending time with me, Chris. Hopefully, I can have you back on in the future and we can get more detail about things.
I'll try to talk faster.
Yeah. Oh man, you're the best, dude. I appreciate you. I'll definitely get this chopped up for you. I'll tag you in everything and we'll get the word out.
Okay, perfect. Are you happy with it? I hope you are. If not, lie to me and tell me that you are.
Oh no, this is perfect, man. I
Okay.
wouldn't lie to you.
I know.
But
I know.
nah,
Perfect. Yeah,
but
let me know. Shoot me. Let me know when it's up, and then I'll also tag it as well.
all right, brother. I appreciate you. You have a great day.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
All right, thank you.